What's up, YouTube? It's Nate Christmas, aka Christmas Hero, coming at you live from YCS home. But I'm coming at you with this deck analysis in depth because I've been receiving a lot of questions in the inbox and people saying I should make my own channel. So I figured I'd give it a shot. If I can spread information that'll help people play a game that they love and have fun with, why not? Brief history about me. As you guys know, I topped Nationals, top 32 with Heroes. It gave me a lot of joy to do that because I've always wanted to do something big with the deck. But I've also got top 32 out of YCS with Toad Heroes when Totally Awesome and Norden was a thing. And then I also got top 32 when Dragon Rulers was a thing, when Return of the Different Dimension was in the game. So there's a brief competitive background, and I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For definitely 10 plus years, and through most of that time I've been playing Hero. There's been a lot of ups and downs. For example, I bubbled Pasadena twice in a row with Heroes, once during Orcus format and the other during Tier Limit format, placing I believe 35th and 37th respectively, 37th during Tier Limit and 35th during Orcus. But that's my story, and I like to play this game for fun, and if I can spread positivity while doing it and doing this channel, that's my goal. But okay, let's jump right into the deck profile. So first things first, I'm gonna start off with explaining the main deck in depth and the reasons why I decided to run certain things. Here's the first card that's actually the hardest card, but not really. But we got Elemental Hero Neos, and the reason I decided to run him, well, every hero deck needs an All Might, right? So there's your boy, Vanilla Neos. No, but for real though, he makes Favorite Contact broken. He's what you go into Shining Flame Wingman with, and then you search off an Infernal Devicer. He's actually, I've never thought it'd be 2023, and I'd say running a vanilla card is good, but this is pretty good. Next up, we have Triple Stratos. And the reason we run 3, I know some people are torn between 2 and maybe even 1, but the reason I run 3 is because 1, he's really good to open up with, and each Stratos copy equals a Ferris, and Ferris is one of your strongest combos in the game. That gets you through the Vision Hero package. And then I also run another card that helps out with if you open Stratos in him. And then on top of that, his pop effect actually does come up quite a bit, so against back row decks. And because I run Mass Hero Blast in the extra deck, you're able to maneuver around back row. And last but not least, 3 Stratos does come up during the Wake Up combo line. So I was finding myself when I'd open a Stratos and Hero lives, dang, I wish I had a 3rd Stratos. And I know some people may be like, well, that's one more. Well, the truth is it comes up, and it was really helpful to have 3, and I really wanted to see him open. And then on top of that, he also helps for a rank 4 I play, which I will describe in depth soon. And then next up, we run 1 Crosskeeper. Now the reason for this is, like I said, if I open him in Stratos, it's usually full combo, because what Crosskeeper does, I can discard him from my hand to just special summon a hero from my grave or hand. If it's special summon from the grave, I can't use this effect, but usually what I was doing, I was special summoning Stratos from hand. And then it would allow me to get a search, and I could tribute and normal summon Ferris if I wanted to, or if I had another hero, I can basically wombo combo without committing to my normal summon. And his second effect is if I banish him from grave when I summon an Elemental Hero Fusion monster, I get to draw 2 and put 1 on bottom of the deck. So combine this with the next card that I'm going to talk about, Liquid. And this guy basically created a combo where I get to see 4 cards. And in Heroes, I felt like that was really important because we already have limited space to see utility cards. So being able to see more cards after you deck then and do your combo was just phenomenal. And yeah, you can't use them under a Rise Heart, but this card at 1, technically at 3, I'll explain later, definitely showed out. And he definitely made it easier to where I could have the option to do rank 4 plays if I chose to, by basically pitching him, summoning a Stratos from hand, and either searching another Stratos or Shadow Mist. And I know you're thinking rank 4, what kind of rank 4 will you do? Well, I'll show later in the video what that is. And then Liquid, we already know Liquid's pretty good. I do run them at 1. Some people run them at 2, but I chose 1 because I wanted to make the hero engine less. And then on top of that, like I said, being able to draw 2, discard 1 during your combo is really good. And he does have a second effect that can come up, so where if you special a hero you can special summon a hero from grave, and you can do that to either summon Vion to get an extra poly, if they destroy your Vion somehow, which I've done a few times. And then you can also special summon Stratos, get another search or pop. And then you can even special summon Shadow Mist, which is pretty good. Liquid's pretty solid. Next up in the line, I only run 1 elemental hero Shadow Mist. Yes, 1. I know it's pretty controversial because you need the 3rd for turn 3. However, I realized most of the times when I'd go to turn 3, it wasn't a Shadow Mist search I was missing. Most of the time I wish I would have kept Miracle Fusion in hand or something, and I'll relate later in the video why that's important. And also, not only that, against a Rise Heart, I didn't really want to open Shadow Mist or monsters. I wanted utility cards, which is why I run 45 in the main, and I run a little more space for utility, and I cut back on some of the engine cards, including Shadow Mist, and 1 worked out for me pretty well. Another card, Vision Hero Ferris for the Ferris Vision package. We run them at 3. I don't think I really need to explain much, but you really want to see this card in your opening hand because it makes your opening hand that much stronger. Like I showed on stream, I opened him with Fusion Destiny and 2 utility cards, Book of Moon and Droplets. It basically allowed me to play through my opponent's boards while forcing them to do something, because if they don't, I get full combo. And Hero's full combo, I believe, is one of the strongest in the game. We also play Vion. Pretty standard, pretty self-explanatory. This card can get you going by himself sometimes, and that's the card you want to summon off of Ferris/increase play. Next up is something I know the hero community has been arguing a lot about, but especially for the longer tiered events, I decided to run double increase. And the reason for that is, if you run 2 increase, I know I run 45, which makes it even harder to open 2 increase. But if you run 2 increase in a 40 card deck, you have about a 2.5% chance to open both. Whereas if you run 1 increase in a 40 card deck, you have a 12.5% chance to open it. So I figured, you know what, why not take the same odds as Mally? Because it's important to not draw double Mally anyway, because obviously that's bad. And then I was like, let's make it the same odds and just increase the deck count. And that way, because increase is a very important combo piece, and it's really hard to win without them sometimes, and just having access to the Ferris play even when you open up one is pretty strong. And there are plenty of times I opened an increase in Ferris and I was able to combo out because I ran the second one. And yeah, a counter argument could be, well, you probably saw him because you run 2. Well, it could have also been that I was only able to combo out because I ran 2. And considering I didn't really open double increase during the event at all, and I was opening the 1 and I was still able to combo off, I feel like showed a really strong testament to how strong 2 is, and especially in a longer tiered event where variants will come into play. So I really like 2 increase, but you know, different strokes for different folks, I don't blame them. Next up, we have Destiny Hero Plasma. He's part of the Destiny package. He's really, really strong. He's a walking skill drain, and as you guys probably saw in my feature match, he can be pretty good going first or second. In my feature match, I went second, but I could have set up the same board going first if I desired to. Like, DPE Plasma is like really strong, having an interactive pop and having a skill drain that can take, and Fusion Destiny basically equals these 2 cards. That's why I really decided to main him. He's really good. Next up, we have Destiny Hero Malicious. And then we also have Destiny Hero Denier, denying people's destiny. Pretty good. We call this the Denier Mally combo. But there isn't much to explain. Mally lets you extend your plays, and Konami pretty much gave us a 3rd one by giving us Denier. The thing I will explain though, one way to play around Nibiru that I was doing throughout tournament, whereas if you open Plasma or open Ferris Destiny Hero, and you have that extra search, you can basically save your Denier turn 1 and use Cross Crusader to bring them back to give you your 3rd Mally. And if they nib you, all you have to do is, since you have a token, for example, let's say this is the token. You have the token after they nib you, and you still have your Denier, and you have your Mally you put back in deck. So all you got to do, grave, special Denier, they still have nib, you have a token, and then you go banish, summon Mally. Because there's a lot of times where you put the Mally back in deck and you don't even use the extra one throughout combo when you're Dark Angeling somebody. So as you see, I have 3 monsters, and now they have 4 cards in hand. I tribute 3. Now I sum up in the plasma, take their nib, and now I have a 3400 skill drain that's going to be really hard for them to get over unless they have another problem solving card. So Destiny Hero Malicious, Destiny Hero Denier, really good. Being able to dump them off Fusion Destiny, even better. I approve. Next up, we have Destiny Hero Dark Angel. The fact that Fusion Destiny is in the game gives you way easier access to Dark Angel, that's true, but you're actually able to combo off into Dark Angel if you open Destiny Hero / Ferris as well, or a Hero Lives like Ferris. Like, it's just so strong, and the fact that he's an Imperial Order, even better. And what's even better about this card is the fact that he shuts off most counterplays Heroes had before he was mainstream. I remember when I was playing Heroes, because I played Heroes for 10 plus years, I like cards like Raigeki, Evenly Matched, Lightning Storm. Cards like those would be so annoying to deal with, but Dark Angel shuts all of those off because 1, he negates spells, 2, he gives them a monster to where they can't do cards like Evenly or cards like Imperm, so they're like, well, your decks lose to this. Well, now they don't. So joke's on you. Mr. Dark Angel himself, being the darkest of angels, being a hero, a true hero, saving us from all your board wipes. So Dark Angel's pretty good. Next up, we have the spells. My favorite card, a Hero Shall Live. So this card's insane. It's the best. It's one of the best starters in the game. Like, there are decks that where you can FTK with it. There was a point in time Goki was running it to hand loop and do all this crazy stuff, which is why I went to 1. But then, you know, Konami let a Hero live and gave it that to us back to 3. And then what I really like about this card, a lot of people say LOL Ash it, right? Okay, fair. But now you don't have an Ash for increase, one of our most valuable combo pieces. So what this card says is, do you have Ash Blossom? And if you don't, I'm usually going off full combo without having to waste a normal summon. Like, resolving this is huge. So people watching this video would be like, okay, I just won't Ash the Hero Liz, I'll Ash the Stratos or something else. Well, okay, now I have an extra monster that I can use as a tribute for Ferris or a rank 4 play. And not only that, if you don't have Ash in it at all, it's a hit, basically a hit confirm in the full combo. This card's insane. Next up, 3 Fusion Destiny. Now, I know a lot of people have been cutting this card to 2 or 1 because their argument is, well, hey, it interferes with our main combo of favorite contact now because we're locked into darks. Well, first things first, if you're leading out with Fusion Destiny, that usually probably means your hand isn't the greatest because this is the card you want to end with. You don't want to start with. But if you ever open a Hero Lives plus Fusion Destiny, 90% of the time I'm winning those games. Because it's like, and especially if both resolve, because they're our strongest 1-card starters in the deck. I like having a DPE Plasma at will, and I like being able to basically Ash check with the Hero Liz and then following up with Fusion Destiny. Or as you guys saw through the feature match, I haloed for my very last card, and I was basically able to take the game because the path was made for this card, which is Heroes. Sometimes you need to make a path and have that hope that that play is going to go through after you made that path. So that, and that's another reason I like Heroes, because they do amazing things and amazing comebacks. So yeah, Fusion Destiny at 3. We don't really want to cut our 1-card starters either. We need all the 1-card starters we can get because consistency is a problem with this deck. Next up, I play Foolish and I play Rhoda, mainly because I do play 45 cards. So I wanted to up the starter count to 17. I really like that number for 45. It's done me well in the past at both Pasadena YCSs. And here's another little secret why I'm running these. We know Rhoda's busted, and we know Foolish is pretty good, but since I'm running Crosskeeper, it basically means I'm running 3 Crosskeeper without having to run multiple Crosskeeper, which means therefore my hands aren't as clunky or clumping together with multiples of the same card in hand, because that can usually spell doom for a deck, especially a deck like Heroes that already struggles with consistency. So I really like Foolish, I really like Rhoda. Pretty dang good. Next up, I said I wanted to run 17 starters. This is the 17th starter, E-Emergency Call. You're probably thinking, well, why aren't you running more E-Calls? Do you not like it? Why just 1? That's weird. Well, the truth is, I just wanted 17, and E-Call happened to fill that role. And it's not that I have anything against E-Call or anything. It's just one was enough for me. And I do want to say it does play into Joel a little harder, but I truly just chose one because I wanted to run 17 starters as far as the math goes. And then next up, I only main deck 2 mass change. Now, I really wanted to do 3. Dark Law is really strong. Everybody got to obey the law, you know. However, I noticed this card wasn't that good going second. Maybe against Sprite, maybe against boards where you can dodge negates like Runic. However, most of the time, it wasn't that good going second. So now that we can search it through our main combo line of Wake Up, I was just like, you know what? I feel comfortable cutting this card to 2 because I want to play cards in my main deck that are utility and can go first and second for the most part. There's only one card that can't really go first and second in my main deck, and it was just so high impact I had to play it. But yeah, 2 mass change. And of course we play the Miracle, and we do play only 1 Polymerization. The reason for that is, with the whole, one, I'm not playing Vision Hero Trinity. Shoutouts to Trinity. He would be an honorable mention at the 16th extra deck card. He's really good against Dragon Link or anything Bistral because you just OTK them. However, like I said, I wanted to make more space for utility cards, and I felt like the extra poly can be an extender, but it can also brick you sometimes. So I decided to learn how to combo with 1, which I was always pretty like decent at, and because 2 recently became a new thing. And then not only that, I run something in the extra that kind of makes up for not having the turn 3 poly, because you have it if you want to. But like I said, most of the time I was doing a turn 3 Miracle Fusion because this card is really strong. It allows you access to Wake Up, Ab 0. If you go into Ab 0, you get to draw 2 more cards. So yeah, and the fact that we burned through this, our turn 1, was very important for me to realize, because by realizing that, I realized it neutered our crackback, and the fact we burned through Wonder Driver, but I put something in my deck to help mitigate that. Next up, we have 3 Book of Moon. Now, the reason I run this card is simple. It's cracked. It's pretty good. It helps you crack boards. It helps you establish boards. Against Kashtira, it's an FTK. You book their first monster, they can't play. And then on top of that, it functions as basically a second mass change and lets you dodge Imperms and Veilers, which is insane to me. This card was at 1 for the longest, and I remember when it went to 3, I was like, dang, I wish I could use it. I wish it was good. Now it's good because of Kashtira. And then not only that, against other crazy boards, you're forcing a negate no matter what. Like, they have to negate or they're going face down. Like, they have to. And then on top of that, it chains well with droplets. It chains really well. Even though I didn't do it on stream, that was only because I was trying to get him to use more stuff before I committed to the droplet, which is what happened, as you saw. So, but a very solid option was for me to go book, chain droplets, and then I get even more value out of the book. And then on top of that, when you're doing your Dark Angel combo, if you open this, not only is it nib insurance because you can book the DPE or the Wake Up, you can also set it if nothing happens, and basically it's GG, because if they normal summon, instead of wasting your DPE pop, you just book it, and then now they're stuck. They're waiting like, okay, maybe I have another special, and then you just pop that, and usually people can't get past Dark Angel with 2 interruptions. So it was almost always GG, and the fact that this card can go second phenomenally well, and also play around Anti-Spell Fragrance, which was a very popular card siding in going second, and then it can also change to Eradicator if that comes up, makes it a really solid pick. Next up, now this is really shocking, this card's really strong, but I only played it at 1. Triple Tactics Talents. This card's amazing, especially in a Bistral format, especially in a hand trap format, which my favorite play to do was to look at their hand, because if they hand trap me, they already have 4 cards. If I have another starter / extender, aka Fusion Destiny, and I talent them and look at their hand, most of the time they're not winning, because now they're only playing with 3 to 4 cards, and I either took a really important starter, or I took basically something like a nib or another important hand trap they needed to beat me. So, and then not only that, it gives me information on their hand to let me know what to DPE pop, and basically playing the guessing game no more. Like, it makes it irrelevant. You're not guessing anymore. You know what to pop, you just don't know what one card is. So now you're basically canceling stuff out and trying to see, okay, where's your real choke point? Now the reason I did decide to play 1 instead of 2 or 3 because it's such a strong card is for a very simple reason. I said earlier a problem with heroes has been consistency, and one of those problems is opening multiple of the same card, therefore making you technically have 1 less card in hand. And I don't know if you guys noticed, the person in Yu-Gi-Oh who can win besides the one who makes their opponent stop playing is usually the one who can play and resolve more cards. So by having more cards that you can play in your opening hand against your opponent, you're bettering your odds to beat them because you get to do more things. So I really thought it was important to stick to that philosophy when it came to this card, because there was times where I was playing multiple and I'd open up multiple and it was really bad news bears for me. So 1 talent, really strong. The next card, Forbidden Droplet. Now the reason I played this at 2 was because it's a really high impact board breaker unless you're cash, and I took the risk because cash is strong, but it's not as strong as it once was, or at least not as represented. So therefore I felt like I could get away with it. And on top of that, if you weren't cash tier and I opened this card going second, it was usually game, and I'm breaking your board and not only that, I'm breaking your board and either killing you or I'm establishing a new one that you can't get over with Revolt/DPE, which was usually enough because it destroys all their crackback. And then not only that, this is pretty decent going first because it is an effect negation at worst, even though you're discarding one. But the fact that you can use it going first and second was a very common theme in my deck, and that's what I decided to run with. So I was like, you know what? 2 droplet, I want to see it, but I don't want to see it in multiples. 2 is a really good ratio for that. Let's do 2 in the main. And then also another cool thing about droplets, you can dodge stuff like Skill Drain if you're going second, Skill Drain, Valor, Imperm. So because I like interactions with, I used to play Gemini Spark Heroes and just dodge things. So that's what droplets reminds me of as well, which you guys kind of saw in the feature match. Me dodging that Runic card with Ferris by sending it and not milling, because the more you let them mill, the more chance they have a chance to hit something good. So why not dodge it and get a negate off there? So yeah, this card's really good. And it's also really good comboing with any other spell because you can send the spell off like talents. Next up, Dark Ruler No More. Now you're probably thinking, I thought you like to play cards that are good going first and second. Well, this is the exception because I feel like heroes really capitalize off the high impact cards, and high impact cards are really good right now. And a board breaker that basically says you can't respond with monster effects is pretty good. So I was like, you know what, some boards like the Sprite board, you kind of just need this card. And then not only that, what made this card better in heroes, because I used to not like it because you can't OTK, that was the whole thing. But when we got access to Favorite Contact, it basically made our boards a lot stronger and made it to where we can deny crackbacks even better. So there were plenty of times going second, even though Favorite Contact's a trap, I started leaving it in because I was confident I would break their board, and then I would search it and set it. Except on stream, of course. I thought I left it in, but I didn't, which is why I got confused, because sometimes I do leave it in. But I forgot against Runic Sprite, I have a lot of good going second cards, so I ended up signing out because I wanted to favor seeing those cards instead. But no biggie, you know. The match ended up still going pretty well, and honestly was still pretty fun, so it went good. And then the next card, Favorite Contact. Now this card, it's one of my favorites. It's in the name. It changed the game for heroes. The fact that it's pretty much a revolt for heroes is insane. And basically, you can also recycle it with Shining Flame, you can recycle it with the new Infernal Wingman, because Infernal Wingman basically says from grave or deck you can search. So after you resolve this, and if you manage to summon another one off of Miracle Fusion or something, you can get this back and make another card like Absolute Zero. You can recycle your Maliciouses from Banish. Like, this card opened up a lot of random plays that are really good for the deck, so I like it, it's really good. And then, fun fact, you can also set it off thrust and make probably like a DPE or something. Pretty good. Next up, I did run these cards in the main, and I'm going to explain why. I ran double Gozen, and then I ran double Rivalry. Now the reasons for that is, I know a lot of people think floodgates are good only going first. However, I do play Ellick on the side. Ellick is actually what I got my invite with because I wasn't playing the game as much. So I needed to play a deck that wasn't combo to where I can still do the things I wanted to do. So Ellick was that deck. And long story short, I realized playing Ellick, there were 3 floodgates in the game that are pretty good going second, and that was Gozen, Rivalry, and Skill Drain. And you can literally crack boards with these cards by basically baiting their negate. Like for example, against Sprite, if I like Book of Moon, they have to negate, and then I chain Gozen. Not only are they losing their whole board now, they can't come back. They cannot play under these cards. So then it was, since heroes have such a hard time with consistency, or certain hand traps like Gozen Shifter, I mean not Gozen, but Shifter Droll, that's when I would flip cards like Gozen and Rivalry, and it would slow the game back in my favor, because my favorite saying is, like a great friend once told me, if they're gonna throw dirt in our eyes, we gotta throw it back at them. If they're gonna end our turn, we gotta end their turn too. So I got tired of my turn being ended, and I wanted to find a way to end their turn, and this was the answer. And not only that, another great friend of mine told me, floodgates beat hand traps. And that's true, because if you have a floodgate, and they have a bunch of hand traps, the floodgate is gonna win out, because now they have a bunch of dead cards. And a very good example of this, I opened Rivalry against a Vanquish Soul player, and he opened Droll Double Ash. Because of the Rivalry and another card I played, I was basically able to slow the duel down so much to where I could finally come back. And after the game was over, of course he didn't mention to his friends how he had Droll Double Ash with full combo. He didn't mention any of that. He mentioned this card. He was like, wow, he opened Rivalry to his 3 really good cards against my deck. So that should show how strong this is, and that it's the thing Heroes was kind of looking for when it comes to ending someone's turn when they end your turn. So sometimes you do need to slow the game down to let you play. And I really like these cards in the main deck because of that. Now moving on to the side, I'm actually move on to the extra deck. We have Mr. Elemental Hero Shining Neos Wingman himself. This is the guy you summon off of your Revolt. And it basically, when he's summoned, he gets to pop cards up to the number of different attributes on the field. And that's insane. That's pretty much Sure Egg, but instead of Banish, you're popping. And then the reason I didn't run Acid is because extra deck space is tight. However, he can also pop back row cards. So you can flip the Revolt in the end phase and it'll be the same thing as Acid with a little bit of easier setup. And then not only that, he facilitates OTKs, because he gains 300 for each monster in your grave, so he's usually gaining like 3k, because heroes put like 10 monsters in grave. So he goes to 6100 pretty easily. And on top of that, he has a non-destruction effect to where he can't be destroyed by card effects, and because of favorite contact, you put back a Neos, Heart of Favorite Contact says he can't be bounced back to the extra deck. So he becomes basically like a big old guy who just punches you in the face, and most of your options are taken away. I mean, he can be banished, that's pretty good, but hey, at least I'm popping something for sure when he comes out, so you better have a Mirror Jade or something, you know? So he's really good. Next up, wake up. It's time for all Heroes players to wake up. Heroes are here, Heroes are here. You know, wake up your Elemental Hero. He added a whole new combo line that lets us get DPE Dark Angel, or DPE Dark Law, and this card is just amazing, and the artwork's amazing. The fact that you can summon any warrior is pretty good as well. And then on top of that, one of the plays to do with him is the Miracle Fusion Big, because he gains 300 for each material. So if you're done board breaking, which I was going to do in my future match, however, he scooped before I could do it, I was going to Miracle Fusion Big and go into him and just attack for game. And he also has a cool burn effect that comes up sometimes too, so it's good to keep him in mind when it comes to time. Alright, Mr. Elemental Hero Sunrise, Rise and Shine, he's here. He's been here for a minute, but he got even better with the new combo line. I can't imagine not running him. He searches your Miracle Fusion, he pumps up attacks for OTK, and shoot, he even pops a card in the battle phase. all of the effects come up and it's very relevant, and he's a level 7, which is very important for this guy. Elemental Hero, Flame Wingman, Infernal Rage. He summons a level 7 from your extra deck when summoned by using a normal monster's material, Neos. And you tribute and summon, and you still get to search off the Miracle Fusion with Sunrise. And then not only that, when he's summoned, he searches your favorite contact. So even if they nib him on summon, they're not stopping the favorite contact, and favorite contact is a really good bounce back play against nib. So that's really pretty good. Also, I'm running Elemental Hero, Absolute Zero. This guy went from 0 to hero real fast, but I don't think he was ever a 0. He's been in the hero deck as a mainstay for as long as I can remember him coming out, and he's not going anywhere. As you guys can see, you can link him off and wipe whole boards and just crack boards that way. And not only that, like I mentioned earlier, a favorite play I like to do when I burn through my Miracle Fusion, I like to go into him turn 2 by resetting Miracle Fusion, and not only getting the draw 2 off of Liquid because he was banished, I get to clear their board once 0 leaves the field. So it provides a really strong crackback. Next up, we have the Masked Hero line. 1 Blast, 2 Dark Law. I really wanted to go 1 Dark Law, but I felt like there were matchups to where, for example, Runic, they just lose the Dark Law, and especially if you set up a way to make double Dark Law, like with Wonder Driver, because a lot of people are going to try to out it with Book, try to out it with Imperm, try to out it with Runic cards, and once you flip that second Dark Law, usually it's game. So I was like, you know what, we got to, my opponents not only have to respect the law, I have to respect the law and run this guy at 2. And then not only that, Masked Hero Blast, he's really good against back row decks, and he makes Stratos super, super alive. It lets you dodge Imperm, lets you dodge Vela, lets you dodge Skill Drain. And then on top of that, his effect to cut in half actually comes up quite a bit. So I was really happy to play this card. This part's really insane. Next up, we have Mr. DPE himself, here to enforce the law. You know, Dark Law DPE, really good to have on the board. But not only that, he's part of your Dark Angel line, and DPE Dark Angel, trying to enforce the Angel, like, he goes off. I don't think there's much to say about him, except he is the only Destiny hero I did run. But shoutouts to my mans Dangerous and Dystopia. I would run those two, it's just extra deck is so tight. So, Mr. DPE. Of course, he's got to be in the deck. Next up, Extra Hero Infernal Devicer. Now, I'll admit, I did not want to run him at first. I wanted to run my extra Destiny hero, I wanted to run my extra Vision hero. But after seeing and doing the combo, the new combo, he's super mandatory. Being able to search that Neos just makes everything way easier. And not only that, basically, it reminds me of basically a Link/Fusion climb going into him, which is why it's so easily accessed. So yeah, he's pretty important to run, guys. I'm sorry. It just makes the combo line too easier. Next up, we have Double Cross Crusader. I don't think anyone's shocked about this. One thing I would like to point out, one of my favorite turn 1 plays, like I mentioned earlier, was the special back Denier off of his effect and put back your Mally instead of manually doing Denier, because saving Denier for that crackback is super important. And especially when you see my X check, you'll see why. Because not only does it play around Nib, if you already have Plasma in hand, it makes it to where turn 3, you have an extra body, an extra 2 bodies, no matter what. So he's pretty good, and I play him at 2 because you do burn through 1, usually through combo, and turn 3, there will be times your DPE gets Ghost Spelled or your DPE gets Kaiju'd. He can bring back DPE. And that actually won me a game against Cash, because I forgot my DPE got Ghost Spelled, and I was just like, dang, I'm out of gas, I have nothing left in deck. But I had a Cross Crusader play, and I brought back DPE because I remembered at the last minute before I was about to scoop, but I have DPE engraved. So I managed to attack for game because he was already really low, and DPE was able to lower his monster's attack by too much. And then I just basically attacked for game with Cross Crusader, DP, and somebody else, I forgot. But that's how it comes up all the time, to where you have to bring, because just like you may have the outs sometimes, your opponents will have the outs sometimes. So throughout a long-term tournament, you want things like Cross Crusader that can bring back your bounce backs or your strong power cards. Because, you know, I only run one DP, and you can't just assume everything's going to go right all the time. They will kaiju, they will bell you. So it's good to have two. Next up, now here are my spicy techs. Now, Wonder Driver isn't a tech. Most people run one. The tech is, bang, I run two. And the reason I run two Wonder Driver is because I was starting to realize you burn through not only Miracle Fusion, but also Wonder Driver turn one so easy. And most of the time I'd go into Wonder Driver, he'd be for my crackback to get the Miracle Fusion back, to fuse into Absolute Zero, to fuse into Wake Up if I didn't burn through him. But if I did burn through Wake Up, and for some reason you can't get through Favorite Contact, you can also Miracle Fuse for the Shining Neos Wingman. This card at 2 saved me so many times, and there was actually a time against, I want to say Vanquish Soul, to where I summoned the first one, and I knew I could bait out his Fenrir and get him to banish the Wonder Driver, because one, he didn't want to see the Miracle Fusion, and 2, most decks only run 1. So I did it. I did a Vion effect to search the poly. He banished the Wonder Driver, and then I made another one with Denier Mally, and then his jaw dropped because I was game after that. So yeah, two is great. 2 is awesome. I don't regret it. He left me in Wonder Driver himself. Next up, a lot of people might have mixed feelings about this card. But this card single-handedly saved me from Droll and Shifter themselves, which is 2 of the deck's main problems. And Droll makes me just go, like, it makes me mad because it shuts our turn off. And you know my philosophy, if they're gonna shut our turn off, let's shut their turn off. So Mr. Bagooska himself. And how you basically go into them, if they Droll or Shifter you, and you open a Hero Lives to Stratos, grab either Mist or Stratos. Usually I'd grab the Mist, and then I'd make Bagooska, and now you need another card to out it besides shutting off our turn. So it puts them at a disadvantage. And I made this against Vanquish Soul with the Rivalry, and he was basically like, wow, both? I can't get over both. And then I was able to OTK him after 1, Bagooska bought me 2 whole turns. And 2, a Rivalry pretty much slowed the game down too much to where you couldn't do anything, and I went off. And of course the Rivalry, I can't summon Warriors in the Rivalry Bagooska, but when Bagooska destroyed himself, well, he's still in the Rivalry, can't OTK me, it's a done deal. And then not only that, since I run Crosskeeper, if they don't shift it, but if they do something like Droll or something, for example, if I lead Crosskeeper into Stratos Search, and they Droll me, guess what? If I have another level 4, if I search another level 4 anticipating Droll, all I gotta do is summon that level 4, because now I'm using my normal, go Bagooska, and go. I did that against a Cash Tier player, not the Crosskeeper play, he actually shifted me. And I did open a Hero Lives, and I summoned and he was a go second cashier player. And he saw the Bagooska drop, and he goes, Bagooska, huh? Takes like 30 seconds. And I'm like, dang, he has an out. He has Book Moon. And he goes, I in. And I'm like, oh, that's game. I OTK on the next turn. And that was that. So Bagooska made him go buzz. So this card's pretty good to solve the problems of them ending our turns. So that's the extra deck. Now I'm going to go into the side deck, which is a little bit weird too. I know a lot of people looked at my deck and was like, wow, his deck's very interesting, very different, very weird. So here we go. I ran 3 Spooky Dogwoods, and I used to call this card Dog Water. I thought it was really bad. I didn't like it. Until one day at Locals, I was venting about how my combo took way too long to do for me, especially since I was learning it. But even at max, it was taking me like 8 minutes to do, to think through what to play through at the time and to really get things going. And they're like, well, why don't you play Dogwood? And I was like, Dogwood is dog water. But then, hey, I'm not a man who's too big to admit when he's wrong. And this was one of those moments. He was like, no, it's not. You're giving yourself a chance to win in time. And I was like, okay, you're right there, but what else is it good for? He was like, what? He's like, bro, if you draw Dogwood, look at all the top 5 decks besides Lab. They can't kill you. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, anytime they special summon, you gain life points. They cannot kill you. And that really resonated with me, because sometimes all a hero needs is a chance. And if you can buy that extra turn, you can win. And because Hero has such a strong engine that's just not as consistent as other engines, because you need so many hero cards. But once you get going, you're a force to be reckoned with, just like any real true hero. Once you get going, you're going. You're saving people, you're saving lives. And shoot, that's what Spooky Dogwood did. She saved my life points. And there was an instant where I was playing against Cash, I got shifted, and I did side in the Dogwood anticipating shifter and roll, and I did it. He couldn't kill me. He did set up a board, but the thing was, I had enough to crack his board, and since I didn't die off of Dogwood, I was able to get game and establish control off of that. The one thing I will say, if you don't have a card strong enough to crack their board, Dogwood is pretty, like, kind of meh. But it does allow you the chance to, if you gain so much life, like especially against Dragon Link, because I was scared of Dragon Link or Vanadium, this card turns phenomenal, because it can literally buy you extra 2 turns just off of the sheer life point gain. So you can literally afford to pass without playing a card, and they cannot kill you because you'll have like 30k life. So I thought that was a pretty good reason to me. And then yeah, you can argue, well, the Dogwood could have been a card to bail you out. Well, the fact that Dogwood potentially lets you see another extra 2 cards because it's giving you 2 turns, and the fact that it could let me win in time was more than enough reason for me to run it. And then the funny part is, I didn't go to time once at all during the tournament, but just having that in there, since I don't play the Dystopia, gave me reassurance that yeah, I'm giving myself the maximum chance to win this event by being able to win in time. And then not only that, fun fact, it's a water. It didn't happen at Nationals, but it happened at Locals, to where, since you guys know how valuable my Miracle Fusion play is, if I didn't, for some reason, go into Liquid, I'll Miracle Fusion with the Dogwood and go Absolute Zero. So Dogwood is not dog water. Much love to this card. I'm glad I ran it. Next up, we run 3 Droll and Lockbird. Now I'm sure you noticed in my deck list, especially my main deck, that I do not run hand traps, and that is because I don't think hand traps are as impactful as last format as they are. They're not as impactful last format. This format, I feel like you need more than 1 to do anything real, except this card. Now, like I said, I was really scared of Dragon Link, and I noticed Droll shuts down a lot of other decks like Fur Hire Runic, or should I say Fur Hire Runic Sprite, or shoot, even our deck or Cash Tier, it can either shut them down or weaken their board immensely. So I wasn't gonna run it at first, but literally a few days before, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna run this. It's not a board breaker, but it's pretty high impact, and for me to ignore that, I'd be a fool. And as you guys saw in the feature match, I'm really glad I ran it, because this card literally made his board way too weaker for him to be able to deal with anything I was putting out. So yes to Droll and Lockbird. Next up, Triple Tactics Thrust. This card is insane. This is one of the best cards heroes can open up with going second, and you're thinking, wait, if that's the case, why are you side decking it? Why are you playing only 1? Well, the answer is real simple. It's not that good going first, unfortunately. I would like it to be, but I don't play Dimensional Barrier, so it's not. And then, last but not least, the same reason I decided to run only 1 Talents is the same reason I decided to run only 1 Thrust. I never wanted to see 2 in my hand. Never, ever, ever. So, the best way to never see 2 is to never play 2. So, that's why I did that. And the fact that you can search Fusion Destiny off of this means you can open up a bunch of board breakers, somehow bait and negate, and then just slam this down, and now you have full combo. You can even search a Hero Lives off of this. Shoot, you can search for your contact. Like, this card is insane in this deck, and I'm really glad I played it. But unfortunately won, because there was a time I was playing 2 and 3, and I was just breaking way too much with it at the LA YCS, and That definitely caused some of my losses, and the fact that this is susceptible to droll also made me only want to play one, so one it is. Next up, Called by the Grave. Now I know you guys are thinking, well, why don't you main that card? You say you're so scared of droll and shifter. Why aren't you playing that card in your main? Well, the simple answer is the fact that I ran stuff like Babushka and Rivalry of the Warlords and goes into the main that are also good going second, arguably. I couldn't really justify myself to play Called By in the main. Called By is an amazing card, but I had to acknowledge it's only really good going first. Unless they were playing against Despia, then it's amazing going second because you get to hit the Gimmick Puppet. But other than that, it wasn't really a board breaker card. It doesn't really force negates unless you're already behind. And if they're negating it and you're behind, you're not winning anyway. So I was like, you know what? Let's just play it going second. I mean, going in the side deck, going first. And yeah, I don't regret it. I was able to make more utility space because I sided this card instead of making it, which came up, as you saw in the feature match, Book of Moon Droplet. Next up, I do play the one mass change in the side. I know you're like, that's so weird. Why are you playing that card? Short, sweet, and simple. You gotta obey the law. Dark Law is a really strong card. If Arise Heart's strong, Dark Law strong. Long story short. And then on top of that, the fact that you can use this during your turn 1 to facilitate your plays through Imperm Ash, because Stratos and Increase are very popular Imperm targets. And then set up basically a walking D-shifter of your own was pretty good. But not only that, you're saying, wait, how do you play through Ash using that card? Well, if they Ash Blossom you and you set up a Dark Law, now they need another card to out your Dark Law. And I know you're thinking, well, that's not playing through. In my opinion, it is, because it's giving me another turn to survive. It's forcing them to have another option they may not have. So I really like cards like that going first. That apply pressure, it's like an option select, and I know matchups where I wanted to really see the Dark Law, I'm putting in the third one. So this card was really good in the side. Basically maxing out 3 when I needed to. And then next up, Forbidden Droplet. I already explained why that card's crazy. Fun fact, I do side the third one going against Lab just to dodge things, because I feel like I'm pretty competent at interactions like that, dodging stuff. So that's what I did. And then anything not Kashtira, I wanted to see it. So I played third. Like, how can you be so Droplet? Droplet is so good. This is my card. Next up, I did play the third Gozen and Rivalry in the side. Like I said, high impact, and especially going first. If you know you're going first and you side these in, here's why it's really, really good. You know everybody's gonna side Nibiru. Everybody goes, LOL, Nib. And that makes me LOL because it tells me what level of a player they're at already. If they're thinking one card blows me out, as long as they see the one card, I win. What happens when you shut down that one card? They lose because their whole game plan goes to shambles. They were so focused on nibbing you instead of cards that may actually be even better against you, that when they nib you, they're going to nib you at a point where they think they can get everything because, yeah, we don't have an Omni negate. But then, which is usually at the end of the combo when you already have DPE up or something. And then if they nib you before the DPE, they still got to watch you combo off and probably get to the DPE. So it's a true 50-50. But even having this face down, if they nib you and I flip Rivalry after my DPE comes back, they're locked into rocks. And unless you're playing Adamantipator, I don't know any deck that can combo off being locked into that. Or vice versa, they're locked into Gozen. When I pick Gozen, and they're locked into lights. And more decks can go off under lights, but I know Kashtira can't. I know Vanquish Soul can't, and I know Runic can't. And those were three very popular decks throughout the tournament. And here's a fun fact: if they nib you, and you have Gozen and the favorite contact, your boy Shining Neos Wingman is a light. So you're usually, I wouldn't pop the nib token. I would just keep it up. And then now they're stuck and have to either crash into the wingman, or you could risk popping it if you're confident they can't go off under Gozen. And now you have 2 really beefy dudes, a nib token and a shiny Neos Wingman to facilitate your OTK. Because, for example, Vanquish Soul can't play Undergozen like that. Cash can unless they have Finmir. Like, they're in a rough spot for that. So, these two cards were really good, and being able to play both at 3 made it to where matchups the other one wasn't good, you could side in the other and still have Nibiru insurance. So, like when people say I lose to Nib, I don't lose to just Nib. It's Nib plus other cards. Because as you can see, since I run 3 and 3, that's 6. I have the Plasma combo, that's a searcher, so I can open up 7. And then I can open up Book. That's 10. That's 10 ways for me to deal with Nibiru in my deck. To your 1-3 of. So, I don't know why people keep saying, oh, Nib. And yes, I did get Nibiru through the tournament. And the only time I lost Nibiru, out of like 7 times, I lost twice to the same guy because he had Nibiru, Ash, and Perm, which I think a lot of decks lose to. And then he also had Nibiru, Talents, Kurikara, which I think a lot of decks lose to. But in order for that Nib to win, he had to open up 2 more utility cards. And I was just like, you know what, I'll take that. That's fine. He opened up a really strong combo with his utility cards, so I'm not even mad. But the other times I got nibbed, I won through each and every one. So that should be a testament to how strong cards like this is, or how if people are saying your card loses to one deck, how you found counterplay to basically end their turn to bring it back to your turn. Because that's basically what Yu-Gi-Oh is, stop your opponent from playing so you can play. So there's that. Last but not least in the side deck, I really wanted to respect back row decks. I wanted to play Cosmic Cyclone. I wanted to do, like, Cosmic Cyclone is really good, but a card I decided on that I did not regret is Evenly Matched. Besides being good against back row decks, this card is amazing against the new Cash Tira version since they don't go Zone Lock 5. And it's good against Despia if they don't Gimmick Puppet Lock at you, and it's good against Runic Sprite. So I was just like, you know what, Cosmic is good, but I want a card that I'm playing for back row that's good against other decks too. So that's what I decided to do. I went through Evenly Matched. And that's my in-depth deck analysis. I hope you guys liked it. Thank you guys so much for watching. It brings me joy to do something like this because I would have never imagined somebody wants to hear me go on and on about heroes, because even a group of friends I used to be like, I'd always talk about heroes and they'd be like, not this again. But with love, very much love, they would do it. But yeah, and honestly, I didn't think I was going to do this or do a YouTube with how busy my life is, because I am a cardiovascular ICU nurse, because my dream in life is to be a true hero. That's my passion. So that's another reason I run the deck, because it aligns with me. And then on top of that, I'm also still going to school for my bachelor's. Like, I have my associates in nursing and got my licensure, but I'm still taking classes and I play Yu-Gi-Oh to de-stress. So it was really cool to be able to do something like this on my days off and be able to play. And yeah, I was getting a lot of people like asking me my ideas, saying I should make content. And I was like, you know what? And people saying they were inspired by me and stuff. And that brought me, because I've always wanted to inspire and spread hope and positivity. So I was like, you know what? If I can keep reminding people to play the game they love, play the deck they love, by making this channel, by doing things like doing great at events. And that, like I said, I went to go have fun and to try to prove heroes is the best. Like, you know, who doesn't love a true hero? And I managed to actually do pretty well even after self-doubting myself, because I wasn't gonna go out first. But shout outs to my sister and friends for basically convincing me to go, because I told myself, I was like, I don't operate on self-doubt, but so I'm gonna go instead of doubting myself, and that's what happened. But yeah, I do have plans for the channel. I do want to upload stuff like replays from Master Duel, or even give more deck breakdowns as my deck changes throughout the years or throughout the meta. And then I even want to do stuff like Q&As, because like I said, if I can spread information that helps people play the game they love, that's me spreading positivity, and I would love to do that, because I know this is the game I love and have fun with. So it brings me a lot of joy to be able to have a chance to be a positive force in that. But like I said, guys, I am also a cardiovascular ICU nurse. I'm usually doing 3 to 4 shifts a week, 12 hours. So on my off days, I do tend to be on the more burnt out side sometimes. So I will be making content, just maybe not like once a week or so, maybe twice, maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks. But you can't expect to hear from me more. But you know, you heard it from himself, a true hero, Christmas hero. Thank you for watching my video, and I will be linking my socials down below. So if you want to follow me more there or check me out, be sure to click and give the video a like, and that would mean a lot. Thanks guys. True hero out.